Right, we are live. Welcome back, everyone. J-Bone here for Smash This Podcast. Coming at you with a one-night only review of Impact Wrestling / Destiny Wrestling event, Bad Intentions. What a loaded event this was. This was a lot of fun. This took me a little bit to get through, and that's only because I was having some trouble on the global the GWN network app on the site on the computer. Took me a few days, a few different tries to try to get through it, and I think it's still a relatively new website. It's going to have its hiccups, so whatever they were doing to it, I didn't report it or anything or let them know about it. I probably should have, seeing as I'm paying for it. But in a positive way, be like, hey, I'm having some trouble. Not crapping on them or nothing, but it wasn't to the point where it was unwatchable and I couldn't. I'm going to keep it. Unless I have just a horrible amount of issues, then I might consider getting rid of it for a small time. But I am enjoying the site. I try to make sure I get my money's worth out of it and take advantage of watching events like this that are unique. And they really are special, and it spotlights different talents that you're not going to on Impact Television. This featured a lot of Canadian talent and some new faces, along with some regular faces that we've seen on a regular basis on Impact Wrestling Television, Impact on Pop. Yeah, just an all around solid event. Seeing the new talent on here, new to especially my eyes, that I've never seen before, really was a joy to watch. And some of these guys, you could tell they were really busting their ass and trying to impress the commentators, who are the executive VPs of Impact Wrestling, Scott D'Amore and Don Callis. So, and they joked about a few of the guys who they saw they were trying to impress them, and said, hey, do you think that deserves an Impact Wrestling contract? And they were like, no, not in the least. It was but there's a few of these guys, you give them the right storyline, you book stuff properly like they have been lately. I could totally see a few of these new guys, if they do some more Canadian tapings in the future, making these guys a regular part of the show. There's no reason why they couldn't. And I'll talk more about that as I get into the matches. Before I dive headfirst into this, just want to remind you folks, if you're new to this, there's plenty more of this content where it came from. If you're digging what you're watching, don't forget to smash that like button, smash that sub button, and ring that bell for notifications so that you know when more of my content hits your screen. All right, so let's get into this. Starts out with a hell of a tag team match. OVE versus Desi Hit Squad. And this was definitely a sign that the Desi Hit Squad is getting better as a tag team. I mean, they're still a really young tag team as far as I know. I don't think they've tagged together on the independent scene besides Impact Wrestling that much, to my knowledge. So the handful of times that they've gone back and forth between winning and losing with Gamma at ringside, and that's one interesting thing, is there was no Gamma at ringside. Pierre's in the chat. Good evening to you, sir. What is going on? We're talking some Bad intentions. That's what's going on. How are you this evening? Glad you could join us. Um, but yeah, an OVE out there just as the Christs, and no Sammy Callahan, which is also unique. I mean, he was also part of this event, but he was not around. So that was also kind of unique about this. Also, right off the bat, what kind of, shocked me is this crowd from the moment they came out were, this crowd was behind OVE, chanting, not booing, shocked. And Callis and Damore even were commenting on that too, just like, wow, this crowd is actually chanting OVE. When's the last time they actually chanted them? Was probably around the time of their debut last year. And, they've been tearing it up ever since. And I think they really started getting the boos once Callahan joined them, which I felt was a tremendous addition to the roster and to the group as a whole. They've just been tearing it up. And since day one, Callahan joining them and joining Impact Wrestling Television has proven why he's now calling himself the Draw. He's turning heads either, whether it be in the ring or controversially in promos online or wherever. People are paying attention, and he's causing a lot of positive things, controversially, or, doing things the right way or the wrong way. People are paying attention to him. They've grown on me too. I was excited to see these new faces in Impact Wrestling last year, and then I don't know what it was. I don't want to use the word stale because I hate saying someone's growing stale, seeing as they were still so new to Impact Television. But I was just like, like the buzz had worn off of these guys showing up and tearing it up and everything. But then all of a sudden, over the last few months, since I'd say like the last 4 to 5 months, watching these guys in the ring and just the new things they were doing, especially Jake, the crazy diving off the top rope cutter, out of nowhere moves, just really improving as a team and just knocking it out of the park. And especially this one, just the 2-on-2, no outside interference, nothing crazy as far as anyone else being at ringside interfering. It was just a great tag team match, and hats off to both guys. OVE coming out with a win, winning with the pile driver. Just a solid start to this. What do we got next? Some new faces that I was really watching this back a couple times. I was really pleasantly surprised to see some of this. Channing Decker, a new face, versus Clayton Gaines. Now, Clayton Gaines, I've seen a handful of times before, mostly on House of Hardcore matches. He's opened up quite a few House of Hardcore matches on Twitch within the last few months. And couple he's come out by himself, then a couple he's come out with the Double D Duprees. And so he's getting a little following, turning some heads. I've noticed him. He's certainly an up and coming guy to watch. and I've never seen Channing Decker before. And I tell you what, either one of these guys with the match that they put on at this event, I could see Impact signing either of these guys. Would not hesitate to watch these guys more. In fact, I mean, so I've seen Clayton Gaines a few matches before, but Channing Decker, who they said was more of a tag team wrestler, now getting a shot at some singles glory to try to impress upper management. And I certainly think they did here, and it makes me want to go look for more matches of this guy. It's like, wow, this guy's really good. He really, um, he really had a good match. So yeah, Channing Decker coming off with a win here. Against Clayton Gaines. I was trying to read my notes, and I apparently wrote them so quickly I have no clue what the hell I wrote. Anyways, next match here. Oh, I wrote wow both. As in they both wowed me. Okay. Chicken scratch, like a doctor, only on crack. Anyways, next we have an appearance. Now this is interesting. If you've been watching Impact Television, you've seen this feud between LAX and the OGs. Now this past week they had a meeting, and it was like three like mob boss type guys having a meeting. On the other side of the table was Conan and oh my God, King. Sorry. And the one guy in the middle was this guy that came out, which I had to kind of chuckle. I was like, hey, it's the head of New York mob bosses or whatever the hell they would have called him. I don't know. Looked like a real old school kind of gangster. Was the same guy that was on Impact Television. He is a manager coming out talking about all the talent. This guy is I want to pronounce this correctly. Pasquale de Papa. I think that's how they pronounced it. Came out with the cane, the shades, the derby. Oh man, it was it was really the character. Kind of like old school Italian, but I don't think he was Italian. I could be wrong. Hell, what do I know? I'm German. Anyways, but yeah, he came out and he introduced Phil Atlas. Was very impressed with Phil Atlas, and the other guy he fought was Greg Osborne, who looked like he was. I think he's a guy from Australia. Some of the funniest commentary was during this match. And they kept talking about Greg Osborne's tights. This is probably the wrong thing to take away from this match. The guys did really have a good match. It was very entertaining. Phil Atlas, a very good old school heel. Just kind of nasty like Callahan. A lot of snot blowing, a lot of bodily fluid type stuff. And that automatically draws the heat from the crowd. In fact, he got on the rope and was, blowing snot at the crowd, and the crowd was actually liking it for some reason. I don't know, it's some sick Canadians or whatever. The guy in the orange shirt likes it. What the hell? It was something Don Callis was saying. And they were talking about Greg Osborne's tights and something about the animal on the side of his tights, and I never got a clear look at it. Scott DeBoer thought it was a bunny. Don Callis thought it was a gerbil. I looked at it and I'm like, oh, it's Australian. It's one of those like jackalope kind of like things. I don't know. I don't know anything about Australia other than the accent's funny and they have a lot of shrimp on the Barbie. Uh, they, Don Callis says, there's 1,000 people out there online watching this, waiting for the Richard Gere gerbil reference, and I'm not giving it to him. Completely lost it on that one. Don Callis is just too damn funny. He's such a great mind in wrestling, and these two together playing off each other throughout the whole show, what a riot. Wow. Just, and they were even joking about getting rid of Josh Matthews. It's like, oh. You know, and I jokingly said that before in the past when I couldn't stand Josh, but I've actually grown to actually respect Josh a lot after everything that he does for Impact Wrestling. And, you know, he chilled on the whole heel thing. I think he works actually really well with Don. But Scott and Don together was quite the treat, I gotta say. So yeah, Scott, Phil Atlas coming out with a win in this one. Good match, very entertaining listening to it and watching it. Pasquale de Papa also doing some heelish stuff with the cane, looking like he's going to swing it at Greg Osborne, distracting him. So, you know, if I could pick someone to, you know, make a few appearances on Impact Wrestling to give him a jump start, I'd say take a guy that you had on TV as part of this whole thing, guiding the LAX OG, the OG's battle, and be like, oh, now we're bringing in new blood from New York. And Pasquale de Papa shows up at some, you know, new tapings with this kid, Phil Atlas. And maybe they bring in another couple fresh faces that look, you know, tough. And, you know, because Phil Atlas looks like he's just got kind of a dirty rat Italian look to him. You know, he just looks it. He looks the part, like he's a good heel, you know. So yeah, I could totally see them doing something like that in the future. So yeah, very enjoyable match though. Next we get Casey Spinelli. Now we've seen her, I should say, against Kiera Hogan. Now we've seen Casey Spinelli a couple times here and there on Impact Wrestling. I think Casey Spinelli has even been one of Su Young's regulars as far as the Undead Brides coming out, I think. Don't quote me on that, though. I could be wrong. But I'm pretty sure she's been a part of that crew. Probably like in one of the tag matches where Su Young actually had to tag with someone. It's hard to tell with the makeup on, but I think that's what I read. But when they started doing the whole showing matches from this place, like they would show a match from Noah, then they would show a match from Canada, then they'd show a match from Mexico. There's been one or two of them where they've shown a match from Canada, probably a Destiny show or Border City Wrestling show that featured Casey Spinelli against whoever. So she's had a few matches, and it was good to see her again because I remember I was impressed with her. And I don't understand the whole 2 scoops thing. Maybe someone online can explain the whole 2 scoops thing. Because when I was growing, I mean, I'm an old wrestling fan. When I grew up, 2 scoops meant 2 scoops of raisins in Kellogg's Raisin Bran, a classic commercial. I doubt that's what this means. So, hey, 2 scoops. Casey Spinelli put on a great match here against Kiera Hogan. And I gotta say, I haven't been overly impressed with Kiera Hogan since her debut in Impact Wrestling. I wouldn't call her a bad wrestler. It's just, you know, just a few of her matches just seemed a little off, maybe not quite as aggressive as they could be. This one, wow. This one completely changed my mind about Kiera Hogan. I mean, not everybody is going to have a 5-star match. I get that. And it all depends on who you're in the ring with. Like, I think Kiera Hogan was in the ring recently with Alicia Edwards. Not a great match. And I think it was just because Alicia Edwards is still really kind of green. But I give him credit for being brave enough to put her on television, if she's good enough to do that. Although and I've heard other people say that Alicia Edwards at independent events is actually really good. So who knows what it was, But yeah, Kiera Hogan really had a decent match against Casey Spinelli. They both brought it. Kiera Hogan comes out with a win here. Like I said, it really did kind of change my mind about Kiera Hogan as a wrestler. I feel like, okay, she's moved up a couple notches in my book, Like in the future when I see her, I'm not going to be like, what kind of match is she going to have? It's like, okay, I know she can have a good match now. Let's next here. Oh, this one was fun. Ace Austin versus Aiden Prince versus Dustin Quicksilver. Dustin Quicksilver recently being on here with me on Smash This podcast. Interviewed him about a month ago or so. If you're curious to see an interview with Dustin Quicksilver, you can head on down the list of videos and go check that out. Of course, after we're done here. Not now. Later. Fun guy to talk to, though. Very fun guy. I'd say they all did a tremendous job in this match. Aiden Prince winning with a 450 smash. They all really brought it. I mean, they were all really, you could tell the ones who are really pushing the limits here to put on a really good match to impress others. And all three of these guys really brought it. I was incredibly impressed, though, and nothing against, Dustin or Aiden, but Ace Austin, and who's also recently been on a couple Impact shows. He was on this last Impact Wrestling, made his debut, and he also was on, was it a one night only or was it a Twitch show? I forget which one it was. It was something else I recently reviewed. And that was actually the first time I saw him. So I've seen him a few times before. Was it a House of Hardcore show? I don't remember. Anyways, seen Ace Austin a couple times, and I dig this kid. This kid is full of charisma. I dig the whole magic act. It's something that I don't think I've ever seen before, and if I have, it's been so long that it's one of those gimmicks where it's like, oh, this again? No, this is something fresh, and the way the kid puts it off with the card from behind the ear, or like where he jumps in the ring when they're introducing him and he does the thing on the mat and the cane pops out and he grabs it and spins around. He's got the jacket. There's a flair to it. It's charisma. It's awesome. This kid's really got something special. So, yeah, I'd love to see any of these guys again, especially Ace Austin, and certainly more Aiden Prince and Quicksilver. I mean, if they keep doing tapings up in Canada and they're looking for fresh talent to, put a new crop of kids in their X division, this is it, guys. These guys are really great. Aiden Prince even getting a shot at Austin Aries on what's that show they put on the GWN network? It's escaping me. It's the other Impact show that's shown on the weekends in some places. It's not shown around here. Can't think of it. Almost said Fusion. No, that's MLW. Anyways, it's the sideshow. Oh, Explosion? I think it's Explosion. The sideshow that goes with Impact. Aiden Prince was on there. So, yeah, Aiden Prince coming off with a 450 splash for the win here. Tremendous triple threat. Just a great bunch of guys to watch. The next one was very interesting. Holden Albright versus Stone Rockwell. Wait for it. Adventurer. I love this guy. I'm seeing more and more of Stone Rockwell. Quite the character. But this other guy, Holden Albright, never heard of him before. Another brand new face. Never heard of him or seen him before. Holden Albright comes out with this like werewolf mask. Big ass teeth and this like one of those almost like mechanical ones. Like if he moves his jaw, the whole thing, moves with his face. And he's got a big black cape and a big black hood. So it's like, oh my God, what is this kind of okay, like me being a fan of Lucha Underground, I've seen some stuff like this before. So I'm thinking, okay, is this like a luchador kind of thing? Because, they're very authentic in their masks and their just the different gimmicks, south of the border. They're different than the ones in the States. So I'm thinking, oh, maybe this is something like that. No, this this is just a weird mask. And they were even asking at ringside, like, is he gonna wrestle in this? So Stone Rockwell gets in the ring, and this guy takes off his cape and his cloak and everything, and except for his Wolfman mask. And Stone Rockwell is like, I'm going to communicate with him now. And he starts howling. And the dude is sitting across from him with the mask, just going, oh no. This whole first segment, this went from hilarious to wow with the action in the ring. I mean, there was some really good, exciting action brought, especially from this Albright guy. But when he takes off the mask before the match starts, the crowd starts chanting, put it back on, put it back on. This dude, okay, I'm not one to like cut on a guy's look or insult him because of a way. It was just not what I was expecting this guy to look like. He had some kind of like shaved blonde braided mohawk thing going on with his hair. And just was like, wow, who is this guy? And I mean, he really brought some innovative, decent offense right up until the end. It seemed like he just completely like ran out of gas. He gets up on the top rope, and it looks like it was like a failed moonsault or something. He just basically jumps backwards and lands on the back of his neck and then just like barely moves, kind of slumps over. And I think there must have been some kind of like quiet communication between the ref and Stone Rockwell. Stone Rockwell then just rolls him over carefully yet awkwardly and rolls him up for a pin. And that was it. So, I mean, this guy, Albright, really brought some, like I said, he brought some decent offense. Stone Rockwell took a majority of the beating in this match, but then came through with some good wrestling. But then the whole ending was just so weird. And then Stone Rockwell gets up like he just got like the daylights knocked out of him. Like he was like drunk almost and stumbling. And then, practically falls out of the ring as he's grabbing his hat and his whip and he's, exiting. And then the promo later as he was walking backstage, he says, stoned adventurer, Rockwell, or he just like screws up the whole words, like he's just like bombed out of his mind, like he had a concussion or something. It's just very like over dramatic and yet goofy as hell. I love Stone Rockwell. He's really something. Um, me growing up in the 80s and loving Indiana Jones character, and then seeing this guy, so many years later, and just overdoing the dramatics with his character and everything. I just think it's hilarious. I love it. I love it. If you didn't grow up loving that character back then, you're kind of probably going to look at him like, what the hell is this? This is stupid. No, I love it because he does it so well. And he just has a charisma about his look and how he speaks. He just throws 110% into it with every phrase he gives, whether it's corny or serious or whatever. It's he's a character from start to finish. I love it. I can't wait to see more from Stone Rockwell. I'd be shocked yet happy if they actually sent him down to Mexico for the Mexican tapings. It's like, I wonder how Mexico would treat Stone Rockwell. Poor guy would probably be covered in piss by the end of the night. Is that guacamole I smell? Not guacamole. Oh, God. Can't wait to see more of him, though. But Stone Rockwell comes off with a win, like I said. What a riot. Then then from here on, just the show is just gaining momentum again, right up until the end. Just 3 incredible matches in a row. We get the Impact Knockouts Championship match. Tessa Blanchard recently winning the Impact Knockouts Championship from Su Yung and defending it successfully the first time. And this was actually considered the first time she defended it because it was the night before that she actually won it in the tapings. So this was the next night. She wrestled Giselle Shaw, another brand new face I've never seen before, but was really impressed with her. Would not be surprised if we don't get to see her again soon, sometime on Impact Television. I felt with the talent that Tessa has in the ring, she could make almost anybody look good. But looking at how both women really brought it and brought it hard too. I mean, there was really some stiff shots in this match that made you go, oh my God, somebody just lost a tooth. Like some of those really crack them in there. Just both were just tremendous in this match. Tessa, of course, defending her. I shouldn't say, of course. You never know in the world of wrestling, but she did defend her Knockouts Championship successfully against Giselle Shaw. So, yeah, as far as another new face in front of an Impact Wrestling audience, I would not be surprised if we don't get to see her again real soon. Would be, I think she'd fit right in, honestly. She'll bring some flair, no pun intended, to the Impact Knockouts division. Next, 2 Canadians just absolutely duking it out. Michael Elgin versus Petey Williams. Michael Elgin, who we've seen nonstop over the last several years in either New Japan Wrestling or Ring of Honor. Excuse me, the last couple of years, certainly more in New Japan. I think he's been spending more time out of the States because of the controversy that was going on last year with him. And I didn't read all the details. I heard a little bit about it, something about he didn't handle something correctly for his company. Then he sold his company because he didn't want the company to go down because of his name. So, and I'm not going to get into that. That's just a real brief overview of what happened last year. So, but I certainly, as a fan, don't hold any ill will towards him. I haven't heard anything specific, nor am I going to go out of my way to look for it. He's a tremendous wrestler, fits perfect in Japan as well, and it was great to see him on Impact. So, I don't know what his contract situation is in Ring of Honor / New Japan, but would thoroughly enjoy to see him as part of the Impact Wrestling roster in the future, if that ever happens. This guy he brings it every time. So fun to watch. Michael Elgin actually coming out with a win here. And apparently was maybe a first time in front of a Destiny crowd. They said, please come back. So that's what makes me think it was a first time. And him being from Canada, I have absolutely no doubt in my mind that he'll be back in front of a Destiny crowd again. And beating an older guy like Petey Williams. Petey Williams, they made it sound like he was so much significantly younger than him, but he's not really. It was like, 5 years younger? I think one is 37, one is 30, and Elgin is 31 or 32. So they're not that far apart, but, Petey Williams being on the higher side of the 30s, creeping up towards 40, already retired once a few years ago. Will be interesting to see how much longer Petey Williams is going to stick around in the world of wrestling. So, but he has been an absolute pleasure to watch on Impact Television. I think plenty of fans would agree with me. Especially when he's standing on somebody's nuts in the corner singing the Canadian anthem. That always makes me chuckle. Makes me cringe, but chuckle at the same time. Oh, man. And then, folks, we get the main event. Steel cage match. One of my favorites on Impact Wrestling, Sami Callihan versus another new face that I've never heard of before, and I've barely heard of on social media. The only thing that I've heard of recently is that his United States visa expired and he had to go back to Canada. He couldn't wrestle anywhere in the US anymore, and they wouldn't allow him to come back. They wouldn't give him another travel visa or work visa, or I don't know all the terminology that goes along with worldwide travel, and you got to have permission to go into other countries. If you're Canadian going to US, if you're Japanese coming to US, or vice versa, whatever, anywhere, you have to have permission and whatever, especially if it's work related. And obviously if you're working for a company for money, it's work related. So it's a job. No matter part-time, full-time, whatever. So yeah. And this is the first time I've ever seen Josh Alexander was in this steel cage match. And let me tell you, this is another face from this show, like Channing Decker, that I am going to look for more matches on, because I was thoroughly impressed with this guy. Number one, I don't know how Josh made it through this match. And I've seen a lot of hardcore. I haven't seen a lot of death matches, like CZW extreme death matches, light bulbs shoved up other guys' asses and all that kind of crazy shit. Well, that's not what they do there. It's not what I heard. But anyways. Oh, not up the... Oh, never mind. They do some crazy shit with ladders and tables and light tubes and all sorts of stuff. So blood, glass, everywhere. But I'm like, okay, this is a cage match. How crazy can this get? At one point in the match, Sami Callihan grabs, well, first of all, he comes out with a trash can, immediately throws it into the ring before even getting into the cage. And apparently also almost took out the ref at the same time. Lucky ref. Wrong place, wrong time. So that right off the bat was a little nod of sign of things to come, that this was going to get used. But for the first half of the match, it was just sitting quietly in the corner. Nobody was using it. Nobody gave it a glance. Just the trash can in the corner. Well, this match starts very aggressively, throwing each other as hard as they could into the cage, back and forth. A lot of kicks, a lot of, this cage was really tested. And this was not a typical cage. This is not a typical cage that you see like at a WWE event where it's significantly taller. No, this was a shorter cage, but it had a steel frame around the top, which also comes into play here in my conversation about how crazy this gets. About halfway through the match, Callihan grabs this trash can. Josh Alexander is against the cage on the other side of the ropes, so between the two, and he's kind of like barely braced up. He's a little woozy, and apparently he was busted open, but not significantly enough until he got hit with the trash can in the top of the head. And it actually, I could be wrong about this. It looked like it actually cracked the can open on the side, as in the metal split. And I don't know if that's what cut Josh Alexander, but he lost so much blood in this match. I don't think in my, umpteenth years in watching hardcore matches, steel cage matches, Hell in a Cells, what have you, I've never seen a guy lose this much blood before. If you're woozy seeing someone lose blood, do not watch this match. It shocked me with the amount of blood that this guy lost. At several points after he was hit in the head, he was just laying in the ring on the canvas, and you would just see a puddle of blood come out from his head. Some smaller, some bigger, and he would get up, and there would just be a shiny red pool of blood, just not even getting soaked up because there was so much of it. By the end of the match, there were large red splotches all over this ring. It was insane how much blood, and I'm probably repeating myself, but how much blood this guy lost. It was just, I don't think I've ever seen a guy lose this much. And how he finished it, and how they didn't stop this. And there were several times where, well, the announcers are going to say, "Oh my God, stop this match," JR style. And I think, but I think there was a couple times where they were like, okay, maybe we really should, because, the ref puts the gloves on. As soon as the match ended, they tossed a towel in and put it on his head immediately to try to stop some of it. The white towel was like half red by the time he was leaving the ring. It was ridiculous. The stipulation behind this was the winner gets to fight Pete Dunne, who is the Destiny champ. Pete Dunne, yes, the Pete Dunne that is also one of the what is he? The NXT UK champ, I believe. Is that what they call it? Yeah. I'm sorry, I'm rusty on the NXT stuff. I haven't watched it in a while. But Josh Alexander, I don't know how, but comes out with a win in this one. Beats Sami Callihan, who is one of the most deranged, psychotic, lunatic. They keep, and this is going to sound like I'm trolling on WWE, but damn, how many years did they call Dean Ambrose a lunatic? Okay, I'm sorry. Callahan is a lunatic, psychotic. You want to compare the two? No, there is no comparison. Callahan is the true lunatic out of the two. They kept calling Ambrose that. I mean, I love Ambrose. Don't get me wrong. Still love him. Still one of my favorites. WWE is just not my cup of tea right now. I'm reviewing the alternative. Everything alternative. But yeah, just a crazy cage match. So much blood loss. A good match, though. It wasn't just, blood spattering everywhere. But there was a certain amount of gore that did go along with this. Like at one point, they were standing on the top rope, decking each other, and blood is spattering. Blood is on their hands. They're grabbing the metal frame along the top of the cage, and they're leaving handprints of blood where they grabbed it. It was just, there are these little gruesome details that just stick in your head, or maybe just stuck in my head because I'm a little sick. But a great cage match. Tremendously impressed by the endurance of Josh Alexander. And hey, props to Callahan too. He put on a hell of a match too. So certainly, both deserved a standing ovation after this. My goodness. Josh Alexander winning with a spinning driver and becomes the number one contender. I don't even know how the hell he got out of the ring standing up. Amazing. So that's it for this one. Thank you so much for joining me. If you didn't catch this whole thing live, you can catch it later on rantwithant.com, where you'll see all my Impact Wrestling content on there. Coming up, something new to the channel coming up later this weekend. Some more alternative wrestling content for you. Smash This Podcast is going to be the new alternative. Put that on a t-shirt. Ring Warriors is debuting Saturday morning. That's right. Wrestling is coming back to Saturday mornings. I chuckled when I saw this, but then I got really excited. I was like, oh my God. Back when I was in like grade school, prior to, because I didn't watch, I kind of faded out of wrestling when I got to high school in the late 80s, early 90s, up until the Attitude Era when I started watching WCW stuff. But I would wake up, go over to my buddy John. I couldn't think of his name earlier. John. I would go over to his house Saturday mornings, and we'd watch the classic WCW stuff where they had the rotating ring, and it was on that little itty bitty ass set, and it had the smoke coming out of the doors. In fact, they just duplicated it for the All In Starcast. That would have been fun to check that out. I'll bet that was a blast to meet Tony Schiavone. But yeah, so wrestling is coming back to Saturday morning, kids. On WGN, 8, 7 Central. And it's got guys like Aries, Jeff Cobb, Marty the Moth Martinez, or Martin Casaus of Lucha Underground, Santana Garrett, so many other names. Those are just the first ones off the top of my head, along with some others that I'm not familiar with, some new faces. I'm always interested in seeing new stuff out there in the world of wrestling. So this is a brand new show debuting this Saturday. We'll probably review it Sunday night. So it might be a new Sunday night thing. Oh my God, you put content out every day of the week. Give me a break. Do I have to? Well, because I want to. Oh. This guy over here. Jeez Louise, he's killing me. Better start paying me. Got to get those subs, get the channel monetized again. And speaking of that, folks, don't forget to smash that like button, smash that sub button. We're over 500. We're trying to get to 1,000, folks. Trying to get it monetized again. So smash that sub button. Let's keep the momentum going and ring that bell for notifications so that you know when more of my content hits your screen. Good night, folks. Have a good one. Tomorrow night, Lucha Underground. Almost forgot what day of the week we're going into. Dear Lord, where's my coffee?